Hello and welcome back to 22 and Over. My name is Justin, and today we're going to do a video on the South African R1 FAL, or better known to most people as the Rhodesian Bush War FAL. Those all hit. To begin with, we're going to start with the history of the South African R1 FAL, the first 25,000 of which were produced by FN in Belgium. Littleton Engineering Works, after that, started off producing small components beginning in late 1961, with the first full production South African R1 FAL built at Littleton Engineering Works being produced and delivered in September of 1964. The first model of South African R1 FAL had an unthreaded barrel, a wood Type C stock, synthetic handguards, the Type 1 receiver, which we'll get into later, the standard gas plug, the vertical locking catch, the Model C carry handle, aluminum cocking handle. It also had the South African crest on the mag well, an FN mark on the right side of the upper, and South African Defence Force MU property marks on the left side of the upper and the left side of the lower, pictures of which we will show later. The second model, South African FAL, had a few changes from the first model, those of which being they started using the rifle grenade sight style gas plug, a picture of which we will show. The 22mm flash hider, they started threading the barrels and putting a flash hider on there. I say flash hider in quotation marks, it's kind of a muzzle brake, but we can get into that as well later if you guys want me to. And then they were, of course, with the rifle grenade sight gas plug, capable of launching standard NATO-style rifle grenades. During the third model of South African R1 FAL, which was the first one made at Littleton Engineering Works in South Africa, they made a couple changes. First one being the lightning cut styling on the receiver. Then they omitted the South African crest. The early South African R1 FALs in the third series had an R1 marking, but it had no manufacturer's mark. But it still had the MU marking on the left side of the receiver. Another change they made was from the aluminum cocking handle to the synthetic cocking handle. During the third model second series, South Africa made a few minor changes. Number one being that they omitted every marking except the serial number on the rifle. They had a thinner front sight. And lastly, they moved to the synthetic stock. Now, South Africa, throughout the years, updated most of the FALs they had to the configuration of the third model second series. So you'll see pictures in other videos and of the rifles in use in either the Rhodesian Bush War or the South African Border Wars, or you'll see pictures that we share in this video where earlier rifles are brought up to that standard. On South African R1 FALs that you see them use and that you see used in the Rhodesian Bush War, you will see two different styles of receiver, Type 1 and South African Type 1.5, pictures of which we will show now. Now, South African R1s in Rhodesian service during the Rhodesian Bush War can pretty much range the whole gamut from brand new guns to very old guns and everything in between, with parts matched and mixed between those as well. There's just a few things about Rhodesian FALs that kind of covers all of them. All of them by the end of the war should be painted, like this one is here. This one has both Rhodesian and Zimbabwean paint on it. We can do a close-up here in a minute and show you guys. All Rhodesian FALs will have, or should have, Rhodesian Army serial numbers on them that are on the gun, in addition to the South African original serial numbers. And many Rhodesian FALs will not have a carry handle. This one does, but we'll get into that. And many Rhodesian FALs will not have sling swivels. Why they would not have carry handles and sling swivels is because the Rhodesians were very particular and very specific about carrying your rifle at the ready. And why the rifles were painted such as they were is they captured some communist insurgents during the war who said they could see when Rhodesian forces were coming. Number one, because they could see their long black FALs in contrast to the jungle, the woods, and the grasslands. And they could see them in their tiny, tiny Rhodesian shorts, which I'm sure you guys have all seen pictures of. So directly after that, they went to painting their rifles with aircraft-style paint with paintbrushes, and they went to wearing longer pants. And those Rhodesian Army markings will look like this, and that. And this is my Rhodesian FAL. We're going to go butt to tip. On the back here, you'll see the shorter pattern polymer stock that South Africa produced. It's also a later stock because it doesn't have the MU marking or the date stamped on it. On the stock here, you'll see Rhodesian paint, primarily the green and the more yellowish tan. You'll also see the remnant of perhaps a Zimbabwean rack number on this side. Going farther up the rifle here, you'll see the upper is made by DC Industries. That doesn't really have anything to do with the video today. But you'll see once again that Rhodesian Army serial number right there. You'll see the pistol grip. You'll see the carry handle, the Rhodesian bolt and bolt carry, the Rhodesian magazine. As we move forward, you'll see the Rhodesian handguards. On the handguards here, you will see the Rhodesian tan and Rhodesian green. But you'll also see some Zimbabwean brown here and here. And further up the rifle here, you'll see it's a first model style barrel. If we flip the rifle over here, on the back of the stock once again, you'll see the remnants of perhaps a Rhodesian rack number and another Zimbabwean rack number. Once again, you'll see the Rhodesian yellowish tan and green. Moving forward, you'll see where they scrubbed a South African MU marking off the lower here. This lower is actually early enough to be of the first 25,000 Belgian produced at FN lowers. You'll see the serial numbers in the 20,000 range. Moving forward, you'll see it's got a polymer charging handle. Once again, you'll see the magazine, the pistol grip. And this side here, the left side handguard, you'll see a lot more of the Zimbabwean brown in addition to the Rhodesian tannish yellow and the Rhodesian green. In conclusion, this was a video on the South African R1 style FAL, also using the Rhodesian Bush War, the Rhodesian FAL. This is another thing that I am very interested in and have spent a lot of time looking at, researching. I've owned two different Rhodesian FALs, and they're, once again, one of my favorite things to have. We're happy that you continue watching 22 and over, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can defeat that algorithm together. Thank you. But wait, there's more. If you guys would like to see how the Rhodesian Bush War paralleled the current war in Ukraine for me, when it comes to like Vietnam vets going to fight in Rhodesia under the kind of colloquial Crippled Eagles group, we can talk about that more at a different time. We're also going to have a video on my experiences in Ukraine up to this date, and many other videos coming forward. I talk about the first model South African FAL.